Town of Pierson regular council meeting for Tuesday, October the 8th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. will now come to order. Vaughn, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Samuel Bennett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Freeman.
Here.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson. Here. Councilwoman Brady Peterson. Here. Town Planner Mark Brett.
Here.
And I'm Myra President.
Thank you, Vaughn. At this time, please ask you to bow for the invocation. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for this day that you've given us. God, I pray for the whole state of Florida at this time as this hurricane is approaching. I pray for the safety and well-being of all the citizens of the state of Florida. And as it leaves Florida, I pray for safety. Dear God, be with all the people that are in acts of service, from the first responders, law enforcement, people in the medical field. I want to just lift them all up to you. Be with this board as we consider the business before us tonight. And God, Lord, be with one of our council members that was in a car accident this evening. I just pray for the well-being of Sergia Cardenas. So thank you for how you blessed us, and I ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. You had a chance to look over the regular meeting minutes for September the 24th, 2024, and if there are no, are there any additions or deletions at this time? If there are none, the mayor will entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson for approval of the minutes for September the 24th, 2024. Is there a second? Second by Brady Peterson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay. Before we get started on the agenda, I talked earlier in the week after we had already set the agenda and advertised it, and about adding to the agenda and it's in your packet, by the way, the emergency resolution 2024-14. As you know, the governor has declared a state of emergency for counties throughout Florida. Volusia County is included in that, and Christian was unable to be in attendance at the meeting this evening, but had asked that I could bring this up in the very beginning of the meeting, and that would be in order to for us to vote on this emergency resolution, since we are in a state of emergency now, statewide. So at this time, the mayor would entertain a motion for approval of emergency resolution 2024-14.
Move to approve emergency resolution 2024-14.
A motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to approve an emergency resolution 2024-14. This is an emergency resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Pierson, Florida, declaring a state of emergency of local emergency for Hurricane Milton. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second of our Vice Mayor, Robert F. Greenland. Ready for the question? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Brandy Peterson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland,
Yes.
Mayor Samuel Beck.
Yes. So carried. Also, just for those in attendance, just for your information, I had a call from the attorney this afternoon, and I think Yvonne also had received a call. And he was in Orlando area and was unable to get gas, and so he said he would not be at the meeting this evening. So Christian will not be in attendance. Okay, item number 5A. Welcome to Pierson sign at Chipper Jones Park. Councilwoman Lenny R. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Dustin called me one day last week. The big Chipper Jones sign was a smaller, maybe 5-foot sign that said, "Welcome to Pierson," I believe. Well, it had rotted off the board that it was on and was dangling. And I said, "No, go ahead and take it down. We don't need a kid getting hurt." So I was looking at the big Chipper Jones sign. It's dirty. Needs to be cleaned. But I thought, does anybody remember the company we got it from? Maybe we could inquire on what to use to clean it.
Yes. Yes. Don Bell.
Okay.
Cecil Ward is the contact for him, for them. Yeah, he runs,
Okay.
his wife is Don's daughter, I do believe.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
'Cause it needs.
Cecil Ward, who
Okay.
you should ask for that.
All right. Will do. Thank you.
Mhm. The Welcome to Pierson sign on that sign was.
No. There was another sign.
Yeah, the other side. The other.
Like to the left of it, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe it was the original
I
sign?
think so.
Yeah, but it was dangling.
Yeah.
It was dangerous.
Ready?
Thank you.
Okay, next item for consideration, 5B, trees on Short Street. Discussion and action, Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
I think we'll table this to go on with, I think Mother Nature might take care of these trees, tomorrow.
You're making a motion.
I move to table, 5B.
A motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to table 5B. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay. At this time, 5C. Is there anyone, at this time of public hearing, anyone would like to speak to in regards to ordinance 2024-15? This is an ordinance of the town of Pierson, Florida, proposing an amendment to the Unified Land Development Regulations of the town of Pierson, revising standards for tree protection to meet the minimum standards and requirement by Volusia County, providing for severability and providing for codification and providing for an effective date. Does anyone have any questions at
I
this
do.
time?
I have a question for Mark. So does this change what we had,
Yeah, let me
Brian?
give you a little background. As you probably have some distant memory of, back in the late 80s and actually again in the late 90s, the county created an organization, a committee called NRAC, which is allows them, it's called the Environmental and Natural Resources Advisory Committee. And if you recall, there was a charter referendum in the 80s that basically gave the county the ability to adopt minimum environmental standards, and all the cities required required to have regulations that are in compliance with those minimum standards. So that was, like I said, late 80s, early 90s. NRAC went dormant till about 2022. That's Mr. Jeff Brower led the charge to reinstate NRAC. And so they've been working since 2022 on looking at the various minimum standards. They are looking at potentially changing the minimum standards for trees. They're actually looking at changing the county code right now. But as part of that process, they started inquiring of all of the cities in terms of whether they were in compliance with the minimum standards that were already on the books. That inquiry went through Yvonne and Ryan. Ryan spoke to me. We started looking at the land development code, and we were not able to answer all the questions in the affirmative that we had, that the land development code was in compliance with the standards. So we decided to do, basically, we don't know what they're going to do with this information. I will say that NRAC is, as I said, Jeff Brower brought that forward. I know that the county council recently extended the life of NRAC, so they're not going away anytime soon. And so, in an effort just to get out in front of that, I brought forward to the planning commission amendments to your land development code that will need to be in conformance with those minimum standards. So, first of all, just want to none of this doesn't affect what agriculture does. Agriculture is exempt from these standards. These standards only apply to new development. And so what they do is, they're extensive. I won't necessarily go into it unless you have specific questions, but I'll just hit on the topic. So we've updated basically just the intent of the code. We put in a list of specimen trees and sizes. There's a requirement minimum standard in terms of it protects two types of trees: historic trees, which are quite large, 36 inches and larger. Those trees, the minimum standard requires that if anyone wants to take down a historic tree, if they come to the governing body, that you guys, that wasn't in the town's code. But there were also second standard or specimen trees. Specimen trees are not protected in the same way that a historic tree would be. But you have to, if you have these specimen trees in your property, you have to keep a certain percentage of them in those standards. So there was not a list in the current code percentages weren't there. So we put those in the code. The minimum standard for historic trees, I just explained how those specimen trees treat them. That was in our code that we put that in. And then we just added permit requirements that are in the minimum standards, and then so that's what the code does. And brought that forward to the planning commission. They recommended approval to you, honestly. Recommending approval to you. It is a requirement of the county charter, and that you're in compliance with these. So this is just housekeeping and clean.
At this time, is there anyone in the public that has any question or comment? Okay.
If I own a piece of property and I've got 15 trees on there, and I want to cut 3 of those trees down, how does that affect what I want to do?
Well, if you're living on that property, it doesn't affect it at all. It's if you vacant a piece of property and and it's owned residential, and depending upon the size of the property, it would affect the number of trees that you can take down without, so it would affect the number of trees you can take down. You have a couple different choices. You could replace those trees, so you could mitigate for the trees you take down. So let's assume they were in the center of the property, right? You want to put a structure. So you could mitigate for them. You also have the ability to pay, just pay money and not replace the trees.
So if I'm 5 acres of R1 in the city, and I want to put a house on it, where I want to put my home, there's 10 trees in that spot. I've got to pay somebody money in order for me to take those trees down. If they're,
No, you could replace. You could put
what am I
replacement
doing?
trees elsewhere.
I just want to clean my property up and put my house in that spot. So I got to pay somebody for those trees that are on
Or
my land.
replace the trees. Yes, if you have a vacant district, if you're doing the land development, and this is already regulations that the town was supposed to have on the books, but yes, depending upon where they're located, you have to preserve a certain number of them. So let me just give you an example of how this works. If this property is less than 3 acres, you'd have to identify the number of specimen trees on your property, and you have to save 80% of them. If it was 3 to 5 acres, you have to keep 65% of them. If it was 5.18 acres, you have to keep 50% of them. If it's 8 or more acres, you have to keep 4 specimen trees per acre.
So the smaller my property is, the more trees I have to keep percentage-wise.
Correct.
So the point I'm getting at, I could have a piece of R1 property, an acre, and I want to build a house there, but because I only have an acre, I've got to keep 80% of the trees. So the reality is, I might not even be able to build a house on it because I've got to keep 80% of those trees.
The smaller your property is, the more difficult it is to deal with these standards. So if you're, and so we do, not only do we work for cities, but we also design subdivisions for developers. And so we deal, all these standards are throughout all the cities. And when we deal with these, like in Daytona Beach, where people have these, where developers want to create these really small lots, these are very difficult rules.
So in Pierson, if I'm not mistaken, R1 zoning, I can put a farm in that property. Is that required? Is that legitimate?
Yeah, if you're doing a legitimate ag activity.
So if I had the 5 acres and I want to put a farm in there, a saran farming, top on it, I can come in there and cut every one of them trees down and put a farm in there. But if I want to put
Are you
a house,
asking me to tell you how to get around regulations?
no, but I'm just saying, but if I want to build a house, I know I can get it rezoned to ag, cut all the trees down, and then come back to the town later and hopefully maybe get it rezoned to R1 and put a house in. But
If you're doing it, this isn't in the minimum standards, so the ag exemption, all that stuff is, but in the county, this isn't in the regulation, it's not in the standard. They have a clawback provision, so if you're trying to get around it by doing an agricultural activity, and you're out in the county, you gotta wait 3 years. And if you cut down trees as part of legitimate ag activity, and then decide next year that you forget ag, you're gonna build a house, county will make you meet those requirements. There's not a similar requirement in Pierson and many of the other cities, because that clawback provision was in the.
all right, so let me ask you
Just FYI, if you have property out in the county, and I told you NRAC is looking at the regulations, they want to go back 10 years.
I've got about 4 acres right over here off But the back 3 1/4 acres I have, if I go in there and I plant 300 trees, I can plant those trees. And then 10 years later, I decide I want to take a lot of those trees out. Does that fall under that regulation, even though I planted the trees? Or is this just naturally occurring?
It just depends, it would depend upon what types of trees you planted and how big they were.
Oh, okay. So I just have to make sure I plant a tree, not a specimen tree or whatever.
Specimen tree is 36 inches.
No, that's a historic tree.
That's a historic tree.
Okay. Specimen trees, it depends, so.
Specimen tree, it depends.
Yeah, specimen trees, for example, if it's if it's like a hickory, 18 inches or longer. If it's a turkey oak, 12 inches. If it's a bald cypress, 18 inches.
So it's like it's a live tree. What size is that?
18 inches.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Rick Davis, 153 East Second Avenue. My question is, I know this is the house that we do, so it's just something you have to do with what you got. I'm just curious what the county ordinance is. I just want to read it.
The minimum standards are in 2 different places. I think it's chapter 50 of the county's land law.
The county lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
want to read
yeah,
it.
you have to look at both. To understand, you got to look at both the charter and then you got to look at the
Yeah, I'm used to this from having grown up in Kansas. So
Yeah.
it's just, I just want to read it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else at this time, in the public, that would like to speak? Being no one else, this public hearing is ended. Now now we're back in our regular meeting, and we have before us ordinance 2024-15. Mark, would you read the title to that?
You just read the title?
Well, that was for the public hearing. Now we're it's up for first reading.
Okay, I'll read it again. In ordinance of the town of Pierson, Florida, proposing amendments to the Unified Land Development Regulations of the town of Pierson, revising standards for tree protection to meet the minimum standards required by Volusia County, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective.
Thank you, Mark. At this time, does the board have any? I know Lenny had questions, and anyone else on the board have any
This
questions?
is a lot to process.
I don't see, I mean, being we're a municipality, I don't see why we have to adopt county's ordinances.
Well, we don't.
I didn't think so. And all this is just more regulation as far as I'm concerned. Of a person's property.
I mean, is this required
Yeah, is this
by
required by the state?
law, by-
No, it's not required by state law, it's required by the charter. Remember, there was a charter referendum in the 80s that passed in Volusia County, and it gave the county the authority to require these minimum standards. So it's all perfectly legal. I mean, if the other cities could have gotten out of it, they would have. If you don't adopt these, here's the thing, if you adopt the minimum standard, the town of Pierson can apply them and regulate them. If you don't adopt these standards, the county has the authority to regulate and enforce these codes in the town of Pierson. So I'm going to recommend that you guys
Let's adopt it. Yeah, and let us regulate.
I understand, Mark, what you're saying. I do have concerns that.
So we could always change these requirements at a later date, right?
You can make them stricter if you would like. You cannot make them less restrictive. These are minimum standards that you have to meet or be stricter than. And I'm just going to suggest that you adopt them because they're making regulations now, and they could make more of them. So
I will just point out, and like Mark didn't really bring this up, but like some of them are already halfway in there.
Yeah.
Like part of the reason that I found this when I was going through it is like all of our LDR, it references specimen trees, but then there was no list of the species that were specimen trees. So like a lot of those are already in our regulations. It just didn't go far enough to list like the species of tree, the size of tree. So it's sort of like they're kind of half-baked, but a lot of it was already partially in there to begin with. So as of right now, it's on the books, but it needed some clarification. So, which is what made us start looking at this.
Because they had specific questions. Size of tree, are you meeting the minimum standards for tree protection with a certain size tree as well?
Yeah, they were asking us for like all the sizes and diameters, and when I started looking at our code, we didn't have any of that.
All that
Even though
stuff
it references them. It wasn't there.
I'm not saying that I won't support this in a future date, but Mark, I'm kind of like what Lenny just touched on. There's a lot in there, and I'd like to look at it, spend a little bit of time, and then normally, traditionally, is you would bring it forth, this ordinance, and then we would vote to advertise it. Did we ever vote to advertise this ordinance? The council? Yeah, I understand that, but first ordinances are, we talk about it.
You advertise the ordinance as part of the.
That's what, all I'm saying is that's why that maybe Lenny and including myself, I did not know, wasn't familiar with it because we never was brought to the board for us to look at and say, yes, we'd like to move forward on this. And when we vote, traditionally, we vote to advertise the ordinance for consideration. So at tonight's meeting, and again, I'm just one person, but I will not be voting to support this. Yes.
So my understanding is if we don't adopt this, the county has the authority to come in and enforce it. If we adopt it, then it's up to Pierson to enforce it or not.
So do we really want the county in there telling us?
Right. Do we want the county in here telling us what to do because we don't adopt something that we're required to?
But in essence, you're saying that we need to approve this because the county's telling us that we need to.
Essentially, yeah.
I mean, that is if you're asking me what testimony do I give you or not? Yeah, I'm telling you that the law requires you to adopt.
It's not an option.
It's
not an
to
option.
have
It's-
this
right.
ordinance.
There's a law that requires us to adopt it.
So the law is from
Volusia County.
Volusia County.
And I would just, here's my advice. Please adopt this so that we don't draw any more of their attention to these issues than we need to. If you guys balk at this, I think you might have the exact opposite consequences of what you would like to have.
In other words, if we adopt it, then we can regulate it. If you don't adopt it, then Volusia County can come in here and regulate us.
And if we adopt it, I'm assuming, and this is my assumption, that they're not going to spend much more, they're not going to be that much more interested in this subject.
And this,
If you guys refuse to adopt this,
that might cause them to be interested.
it might cause them to be interested.
Well, I understand that.
So is there a timeline of when this has to be?
No, other than they started asking questions about it, so we decided to preemptively, let's just correct it. Like I said, At their last meeting, at the October 1st meeting, we were hoping that the NRAC committee would not get renewed, but it was renewed. So this is something that Chuck Brower has a lot of interest in.
And out of all the other cities in Volusia County, have they?
Every single one is adopted.
Not for that.
But to answer your question, I've had a draft email to Samantha County in my outbox since August, and that's when she started asking about it. And I purposely ignored her until we could address it. But I mean, they wanted it 2 months ago.
And I did listen to the NRAC meeting where they said that Pierson was not responsible.
Rick, did you have?
Yes, I just wanted to indicate that I do advocate that we go ahead and approve it. Because, you know, we think people are talking like we can not enforce, the county can still enforce it. It's like federal or state.
Right.
Ultimately, the federal government is responsible. You know, and like our citizens come off your back, go ahead and pass it. Because it's really intended to I'm gonna say slow it up. So it's just not, I grew up in Kansas with a tree ordinance here. And I mean, you couldn't move without getting a tree to cut down approval for that. So if you come to that eventually, in this case, you don't want it.
Yes, Frank.
But it's my understanding, Mark, if I heard you right, if we adopt this resolution, then the city can take over the responsibility of regulating these rules.
Well, the town has.
If we don't adopt it, then the county's going to move in on top of it, and they're going to be telling our council what we can do and what we can't do.
No, that's not what the county, the county will just directly regulate.
No, well, but it would be better if the city regulated what was going on in the city.
Correct, and that, I mean, that's how it's intended to happen. You know, we do, you know, right now, we enforce the land development code. Like, you know, and as I said, I think this is a period of time where they're looking at all these things. And it would not be good to send a message that we just don't.
That's why the other cities probably adopted it, because they can have more control over what's happening with the trees in their town.
Yes, and that's what this would do for us.
Yeah,
We would adopt it.
I'm saying, okay.
This is the first reading, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm just allowing people to.
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah.
It says minimum standards. That's what we're doing.
Well, with what has been shared and with the recommendation from our planner, Mark Corrett, I will change my position and support it on the first reading. Mary Kay, you should be happy that you were able to build your home.
I've been spinning here.
Yeah. Before you get more government involved.
They're all
Yeah.
Mark, let me ask you, so if we adopt minimum standards, it falls under the LDR. So to trigger an investigation of something, then it would have to follow the process of someone would have to make a complaint and the DRA would have to investigate and determine if it was a
I
violation
mean,
of
if
the
somebody
code.
took down trees with it, you know, let's say you had a vacant property, you just, it wasn't an ag activity, you just clear cut it. I mean, we have regulations now that adopt this, but there are a bunch of holes in it. So this sort of just fills in some of them.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, then Mayor will entertain a motion. What your
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-15 on its first reading.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor, Robert F. Greenland, for approval of ordinance 2024-15, first reading, and let the record show that the ordinance has been read in its entirety. Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question and roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Brady Peterson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland?
Yes.
Mayor Samuel Bennett?
Yes. Okay. Now, this time we're going into another public hearing for item 5D. This is an ordinance 2024-16. -16. This is an ordinance of the town of Pierson, Florida, adding a section to the Code of Ordinances regarding trespass warnings on public property and other property generally open to the public. At this time, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on ordinance 2024-16?
This is in regards to.
That would give us the ability to, like the person that kind of went into the building here several months back,
Yes.
we could prosecute them on charge.
I'm not a,
I mean, that's kind
I
of.
think so, but I'm not an attorney, Greg.
It's so we can trespass them off of the town's properties.
Okay, yeah.
And this is a second reading, and it was in, I believe, Christian did put this together for our consideration. So, anyone else? Okay, being no further comment from the public, the public hearing is closed at this time. Now back to our regular meeting. The mayor would entertain a motion to what your consideration is for 5D, ordinance number 2024-16. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Randy Pierson for approval, final approval, or second reading of an ordinance of the town of Pierson, Florida, adding section to the Code of Ordinances regarding trespass warnings on public property and other property generally open to the public. Is there a second? Seconded by Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, number 5E, the RFP 2024-01, water operation scoring and review. Our town planner, Mark Peretta, is that code?
Hang on a second, Mark.
Hold on,
Hang
hold
on.
on. We need to roll on.
I didn't call for the roll call.
No, roll call.
Point of order, I did not call for roll call. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Brandy Peterson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Robert Freeland,
Yes.
Mayor Samuel Bennett.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, now, Mark.
So, if you recall, at the last meeting, we discussed that we form a committee and review the RFP respondents and provide a recommendation for you guys. That's what you have before you tonight. So the memorandum in your packet. It is basically asking you guys to give us direction. I'll talk a little bit more about the ranking the process in terms of what we're asking, any direction on basically suggesting one of two courses of action. One is that you can direct us to negotiate with the recommended vendor and then bring back before you that agreement. Or you can decide that you would like to interview yourself, the selected vendor, or any of the other vendors. But let me talk a little bit. If you recall, so we issued an RFP. It was out for about 30 days during that period. We had we set up a meeting where the respective respondents could view both the new plant and the existing water treatment plant. And four of those vendors did decide to submit responses to the RFP. Those were Biometric. Biometric is your current vendor, as you all know. Another firm firm called Certified Backflow, U.S. Water, and CWS. So the committee met. First of all, everybody in the committee had each of the RFPs. We all reviewed them independently, and then we met and discussed them further, and then scored each of them. So you have our memorandum. You can see the sort of summary of we scored them on, which were qualifications, certification, experience in water treatment operations, proposed approach and operating plan, technical expertise and staffing plan, cost proposal, responsiveness to requirements, and then value-added services. The committee was myself, Ryan, Todd Bush, who you know is an inspector with ZEPCON, and professional engineer by the name of John Diller, who works for ZEPCON, who has experience and expertise in utility design. So that was the committee. As a result, the committee ranked each of these, each of the firms, CWS as number 1, U.S. Water as number 2, Certified Backflow as number 3, and Biometric as number 4. Just, Biometric and Certified Backflow, they're both small companies. Certified Backflow has actually only 1 staff member. Biometric, you guys are all familiar with, it's small companies. Both U.S. Water and CWS are large companies, well staffed. I would say, just full disclosure, CWS was not the lowest bidder on price. That was U.S. Water. That was the lowest bidder on price. Certified Backflow was the highest. Why did we not recommend U.S. Water? Because they had an interesting approach in terms of how they actually offered they were the low bidder, but they indicated right up front that this price was only going to be good for 1 year. They wanted to, renegotiate after that first year. And they also said they were going to build in a increase each year. So
This was U.S. Water, did you say?
Like I said, they were low. They were the lowest.
Are they who does Astor, I think?
I don't know.
Because I've heard from citizens that live in Astor that said, oh boy, every time we turn around, it's more and more and more and more.
I know they did do Lake Helen, but they no longer. Lake Helen had Biometric. They then hired U.S. Water, and now, from what I understand, they do not use U.S. Water. They use somebody else. I don't know who they currently use. Do you know? So.
CWS, the company that we did use, we used them to do some, yeah.
No, that was.
What was that?
No, that's RCM. But I will say CWS, they have actually contacted us before because they did the emergency sewer line replacement at the elementary school. So I'm pretty sure that they are the ones who manage the sewer plant at the school.
They do. They manage the wastewater plant at the school right now. So they do work for Wichita County Schools. They have done work for Wichita County.
The
CWS.
So which company had, the one guy was the chief cook and bottle washer?
It's certified
Certified
backflow. He's one person. So he scored pretty low. He was the most expensive, but also he really had no backup plan in the event he was sick or out of town.
So that was the problem with Certified Backflow. He's a one-man shop. So
Right.
he did explain that he has coverage, but it didn't actually explain in the RFP response how that coverage occurred. Certified Backflow, I mean, biometrics, they've been here all this year, they didn't really explain, they're going to be taking over a new plant. It's not just a plant they've been maintaining. They had absolutely no explanation in their response as to how they would handle that transition. Both U.S. Water, as you would expect, had a lot of information about how they would handle things on a day-to-day basis, how they would handle emergency situations, how they would start up and transition to the new plant. Like I said, I think they're both well-qualified firms from the perspective of the committee, though, felt like U.S. Water was already kind of, whatever we do with U.S. Water, it seemed like that was just, it was good. But that pricing was going to be 1-year trial runs.
And CWS does work now for the Volusia County School Board.
Yes, they did.
And did you have any other references? Did they work?
They have a number of different references. What we intend to do once if you select a vendor, we'll go through and then do a formal check.
With the committee's recommendation, which you were on, and also Ryan, and then Todd and Zed Cohen. I would go with y'all's recommendation to go with the CWS. How does other board members, what are your thoughts?
Well, CWS's contract, what do they want? Annual, do they want, what?
I mean, they did not say we'll negotiate. What we intend to do is we'll try to negotiate a multi-year contract. Probably, what we probably do is try to get a 3-year contract. We would not go, I don't think it would go like 5 years. But probably we would try to negotiate a 3-year contract with them.
Because if we go ahead tonight and approve CWS and terminate biometrics, and then we can't.
You will be terminating biometrics. You're not going to terminate biometrics.
We're going to approve him to try to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah, all you're authorizing us to do is,
Okay.
is to enter into negotiations with the number one selector.
And then Mark would bring back the contract proposal back to us for our consideration.
Christian would probably work on that too.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And I can
So tonight, all we're doing is giving you the authority to negotiate with the company as to.
Correct. Essentially, I'm asking you, how do you want to proceed? Our recommendation is that you have 2 choices. You could start hearing from this vendor yourself or others, or you could just direct us to enter in negotiations and bring back what we would consider the best contract that we can negotiate for you.
I just have a question before we do move forward. I would go with the committee's recommendation. The company that did come to the aid of the town when we needed them, I think they installed the elevation valve at the water plant.
They did come they sent a rep to the meeting, but they did not submit a bid. They decided not.
Oh, you're talking about Reuben Law. Yeah, he decided he didn't want to bid.
And is that the one that came over and did the one on Pecan also?
No, that's RCM. Reuben was the one who did the testing for the new wells and the testing at the water tower and put it back online. And we thought he might be interested, but again, he's pretty small. I think it's him and his son. And they already managed a couple other things. I just think they decided not to put in a bid for it.
And then, but we did offer it to the one that came over and did Pecan Street.
RCM is really only like a utility construction company. They don't do water operations, so they don't manage the day-to-day.
Well, that explains.
I mean, you could call them for things like valves and pumps, but not for day-to-day stuff. So.
Okay.
And just so you're aware, we didn't put the pricing on anything, but there's only a $150 difference between U.S. Water and CWS. So they're the top 2 CWS is $150 a month more, but we didn't think that was a deal breaker for, when you compare the two, because US Water has about a 4-page schedule of pricing in there for every little extra thing that they do.
That's what I heard.
What is the difference between CWS and biometric?
About $400.
But we have
Now
had,
keep in mind, biometric right now only services one well. They only do the one well at the school. So they used to charge us $900 a month. Their new bid is for $2,650 a month. Which part of the reason for that is because it's been $900 a month since 2005. Biometrics hasn't gone up at all in 18 years. But biometrics, just like US Water, that's their flat monthly maintenance fee for you, but our invoices from them are usually substantially higher because if he's got to come out and do an emergency read, if the chlorinator's not working properly, we get charged all those man hours. They call it administrative fees, so we're already probably paying biometrics close to that as it is. Or more than that, depending on the month.
and then we just, to refresh your memory, initiated this and started looking because of issues that we did have.
Yes.
And so there was a big price difference on some things that we were doing. So that's what we had to start looking.
Right. I agree.
If there's no other questions, the mayor would entertain a motion to, at this time.
I move to approve Mark and Ryan to negotiate with CWS Utilities regarding our water system.
Okay, we have a motion, and would you include the town attorney on that also? If there's
Yes, to be for all the information to be forwarded to Christian.
So we have a motion on the floor by our Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to approve Mark Corrett, Zeb Cohen, Ryan, and Christian to work together in putting together a contract with the company that we just selected, which is CWS. I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Randy Peterson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item 5F, hurricane supply relief, Councilwoman Lenny or Richardson.
All I was gonna say, there's still some water and soda in the cooler, and that lady that's doing the Save the Boating,
Christine.
yeah. She was gonna be going back to Keaton, area, and was gonna pick it up and take it. And I said, just, let's donate it. But I think maybe we need to hang on to it for ourselves right now, so.
Yes, with what's looming here,
Correct.
we're looking at next couple of days.
Correct.
I think it would behoove us to hold
Yes,
on to what
to
we
just
have.
hang
We
on to
may
it,
need to
yes.
give it to our own citizens. But if not,
Yes,
I think we should wait till after the hurricane.
absolutely.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. Anything else on that?
No, sir.
Okay, next item, 5G, lead service line DEP requirement discussion and action, Deputy Clerk Ryan Smith.
This is something that I think most of the council's aware of, and I've talked a little about it, but just so we're all here and we have a summary of it. EPA has adopted some new standards and amendment, whatever you want to call it, to the Clean Water Act that is requiring what they call a lead service line inventory from every water system in the state of Florida. Basically what they want to make sure is that there's no lead in any of the water. If there is, there has to be a plan in place to replace those lines, upgrade those lines. Pierson's water system was built in 1990. Lead was banned in 1986. Per our blueprints, all of our connections to the water main should be copper. But they still want a huge spreadsheet filled out with there's a line for every individual meter in town. When was it installed? What's the material? What size is the material? Did you visually inspect it, et cetera, et cetera. We actually signed a contract with Biometric to do this in February, and it was sent to them, and then Carlos Tola claimed last week he never received that, so he's never started that, and it's due, no exceptions, on October 16th to the EPA. So we called Bobby about it last week and talked to Bobby since he's chairman of water, and we made him aware that it's absolutely necessary. So the public works guys started going out on their normal routes like they do when they read meters and just kind of digging around in the meter to just visually verify for me it's this size, it's this material. It's very short notice, you know, for whatever reason, balls got dropped or whatever. But basically, I've done about 90% of the spreadsheet. I'm just waiting on the boys to give me their stuff. I can input it and hopefully have it off by the 16th. But if anyone was wondering why they've been busy and why they've had their priorities kind of focused elsewhere, they did tell us, the health department did tell us, if it's not in by the 16th, it's a automatic EPA violation, no excuses, no extensions. They may change the deadline of the storm. Somehow I doubt it because they've expected you to have it done by next week. So, but we are about 90% there. I talked to Tom at Florida Rural Water. He's in agreement with that. They even offered grant money at the beginning of the year to hire people to do it. We missed the window on that. So, but we're lucky that we're a small enough municipality and that we've got our original blueprints that we're, 99.9% certain there's no lead anywhere, no lead fittings, no lead connectors. And like Tom said, if it's not 100% right, if you don't get to visually see every meter, you can always go back and do it later. But if at least we submit something to them showing we've done a majority of it, we're working on it, it probably puts us ahead of some of the other people who haven't even responded yet. I will just let you know that Biometric called us and he argued with us and said, no, it's not due on the 16th. He's got 2 years to complete this. I verified it with Deborah Knight at the health department, the DEP's website, Florida Rural Water website. It has to be done by October 16th. And I think Biometrics is in a little bit of a panic because he signed a contract with multiple companies to complete this for them. And it sounds like he hasn't done it. And again, we signed a contract with him to do it, and he claims that they never received it or can't find it, which in hindsight is good because it would have been $109,000 for him to do this.
Good gracious sakes.
So maybe we're lucky
yes.
that he didn't find the contract. So
for sure. And did you say that they're 90% done?
Well, Chris
the
had
information that they asked for, so like for instance, they want to know when was the line installed.
Right.
Okay, well, if the house was built prior to 1990, we know it was installed in 1990. Right. That's when the water system came in. Mm-hmm. Yvonne and I went through and just looked up the dates that all the houses in town were built, and that's the date that we're going with they were installed. I mean, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is, like, for instance, the set of blueprints that we have tell us, all of the city side connections should be 1-inch copper. So that allowed me to fill out the city side connection. Yes, some of them have probably been updated over the years. If the boys come in and tell me different, I can go back and change the handful that are different. But I would say about 90% of the spreadsheet's done. So once the guys give me their lists, I can just input it, whatever they give me, and then hopefully have it off next week sometime.
I think Chris said he only had
one page. They had like 10 pages of houses to do, and Chris said he had one left. So he's pretty close to being done. I don't know where Dustin and Lewis are, but Chris is almost done.
I'd like the audience to be aware of, Yvonne called me Thursday, I think, and I was out of state, and because this was news to me, and so after I spoke with Yvonne, I called Lewis and instructed the employees to more or less drop what they're doing and start doing this. Well, in the meantime, I get a call. Lewis must have contacted, or one of the boys
I
talked
think
to.
Lewis contacted biometric.
Yeah, okay, well, somebody contacted Carlos Senior, and then Carlos Senior called me. And, went to explain and said, Bobby, I was at the seminar or whatever when this came about, and you do not have to have it turned in 2 weeks. I said, Carlos, I'm out of town. I said, I'd appreciate if you would call our town clerk and explain everything you just explained to me to her, or Ryan. So this is how this got started. And since then, I found out that, well, like Ryan just explained to all of us, we sent, this is just another example of the problems we've had with biometric over the years. And I think it might behoove us to maybe go to another service. That's all I have to say.
We have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I will just say, I'll apologize to the mayor because we tried to call him and he didn't answer. So we immediately called you. Because Yvonne and I kind of went into panic.
You're right, yes, I'm sure, yes.
All we read was EPA violation and I was like, oh, we have to, we have to do something. And
exactly.
The boys, I will say they're not real happy with us because it's a lot to try to.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But, they're getting it done. So we're going to get in by the 16th.
That's good.
I saw Justin checking meters today, kind of on the
Oh,
west side.
that's what
Yeah.
he's doing.
And Ryan, for the board and for the public, share with them what they found, that most of the connections, what the different piping, what is it made of, what's the main.
Almost all the customer side is either PVC or poly, so it's all plastic. A lot of the stuff from 1990, a lot of the original stuff that we haven't repaired or replaced is the 1-inch copper. But then again, some of those will be different too, because I'm sure they've had to replace stuff over the years. But that's kind of what I'm waiting on now, is they'll verify that hopefully for me, and then we'll know. And I will tell you that this, as part of the Clean Water Act, this is an annual thing that will have to be addressed every year. So the more information, the more accurate information we can have now, next year, all we have to do is update it with any new houses that have been.
Right, any new construction.
Right, once a
Mary Kay.
master plan is established.
Right, and so every year it will have to be addressed.
Right.
So, it'll be on there.
Well, I wanted Ryan to share that because when I talked with them and when they're going through this process, it's basically they're trying to make sure that there's not a lead poisoning. And this is primarily for municipalities that have a lot older water system than we do. Our water system's, fairly new, and we don't have the iron pipe and the lead but this is a requirement. So great job to everyone, and we're getting it done, and it's a savings to the taxpayers, how this is being handled. So, okay. Anything else on that before?
Well, every spare minute that it's possible, they need to be working on this project. The 16th is what, Wednesday?
Well, not during the house.
No, right, but.
Well, they have been, but
But I
there are
think-
times.
Yeah.
I think we're close.
Yeah.
I really do.
There
I mean,
were-
it'll only take me a day. to put all
Yeah, I
this
think they're
together,
good.
so,
I think they're pretty close to wrapping it up.
yeah. I mean, considering the short notice.
Yeah, that's-
Together pretty fast. We have the benefit of being a small municipality in that regard because, imagine how long Lansing was.
Second.
Something like that.
Yeah, that was the second, because it was exactly 2 weeks.
It was exactly 2
Yeah,
weeks.
it was
That's why I
exactly
sent
2
the
weeks.
reminder email.
Yeah.
And I did include the email in the packet, just so if anyone.
Yes, I see that.
We had a little heated argument with biometrics on the phone because he swears we're wrong about this, and he asked me for proof of this. And then he said, well, we're gonna have to go over Deborah Knight's head to her superior. And I said, I'm not going over Deborah Knight's head at the health department.
Right, who you going to, the EPA?
So we did call Tom Gustafson at Florida Rural Water, and he came in the next morning and met us and verified that Carlos had that. So,
Any other question or comment before we move on? Being done, we'll move to the next item, 5H, landscaping at Town Center. The guys did start working on, we approved this a couple months ago. They started working on the front of the building where we're going to do landscaping, and then of course we came about that with this, so that was priority. But reason I put it on there, I wanted to kind of get some input from the board. I talked with Mike where we have, he's got some rock ordered to go out front. And the rock that he's ordered, he said he's going to order it anyway because they use that rock like for septic tanks, like to put in drain fields and stuff. Mike said he'll sell us whatever we want. He doesn't want to get involved in the politics of it. But aesthetically, he recommended like the river rock that is more of a aesthetically, and I think it would look better. I said, well, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I will bring it up before the board and for discussion. And I kind of agree with him that that the river rock would be, it would look nicer, I think. So, what's y'all's thoughts?
Is there a huge price difference?
He said he would give us a price break on the on the river rock, and he said again he didn't want to get into it. He'll sell us with whatever we want, but aesthetically it would look, it would because this is the front of our town center. I think the that white rock that's used in drain fields, it would not look as aesthetically, it wouldn't look as nice. So I wanted to, 2 months ago when we voted on this, we approved the rock that's used in septic. So what is your thoughts? How would y'all like to?
If I'm not mistaken, river rock is more multicolored, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Brownish and tans.
It's got a mixture.
Yeah, I think it would look better.
Is that the consensus?
I mean, I think it looked better.
Okay.
River rock over that.
I have a question about the flower bed. The boys told me we're taking the irrigation out, and I don't understand why we're taking.
I didn't know anything about taking it out. We spent time putting it in there. I wouldn't take it out.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from.
Because I need to go back to them then,
irrigation
because they told me they couldn't get it to work and they were told to take it out.
No, we're just gonna, what I told them is to start working on it, and we would need to put ground cover down because you don't want to put rock and then it just, so.
Go in the dirt.
And then they started to work on it, and then we had the directive where we needed to work on this mandate of making sure we don't have
Yeah,
lead.
that's the only thing I had is just, I didn't understand. If we had irrigation there, why we were taking it out.
Okay,
I don't see any sense to take it out.
okay, that's all I have on that. Okay,
Can I make a comment on that?
yes.
I'm really glad to see that we're decided to go with that river rock, because I think aesthetically, it would definitely look a lot better and blend with a lot more variety of plants or bushes or whatever you want to say than just that white rock. I think that's a really great decision to go with that river rock. I think it would just, it looks, I mean, I have a lot of river rock around my place, around where my swimming pool is and everything. It just seems to blend with pretty much whatever you want to put there. And I agree with Meredith, you definitely got to put that ground cover down, otherwise it's just going to.
Thank you.
Well, my only thing is I know River Rock, I have it around my whole entire house, and it's about $5 or $6 a bag. So as long as Mike is going to comparably give us rock for the same as the white rock, then I don't see where there would be any problem, because it is going to look better, because white on volume is not
Right.
gonna look
Yeah.
right.
I would like to say too, there's a big landscape company over in Benell, on US one, north of Benell.
That's where I got all of
And,
them.
and they bring it to you, truckload.
Got
And that's what they did at my place. They bought it and dumped it on my concrete driveway. So I could run my front end loader underneath of it and use up every pellet without wasting any energy. They'll bring it to you by the truckload instead of having to buy it in bags.
Bags.
Maybe my short about getting it in bulk.
I think he can. I mean, he has several different kinds of rock back there that he gets already, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, buying it by bulk, in my opinion, would be the way to go, because you can scoop it up and put it wherever you want to.
Thank you for that, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick?
Just make it feel a little bit better about the river rock. If you use a white septic tank rock, that's limestone, that changes the pH of the foundation plants, which then will affect how you
That's the plants.
So the river rock will be at a negative effect, plus maybe you can use that as a fuel line.
That river rock kind of in order for us.
Yes, Sue? And that's what caught my attention, because I saw what you are talking about in some other places, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't think we want to use that. And so, I'm glad that the board has relooked at this, and it sounds like that everybody's on the same page. So.
The only thing that I would think you would need to do with that rock is some kind of retain barrier there to keep it from spilled out onto the driveway. I mean, that's what I have in front of my house, so it can't get out into the grass.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dates by mayor, I'm going to reserve the right to come back to that. H5H updates on town projects from town attorney. Of course, Christian's not here. Updates on town projects from town planner, Mark Perrett of Zebco.
Thank you very much to say tonight for the water system. Now, once we have that vendor in place, it will be able to be operational. Really, the contractor's kind of waiting to turn that over to whatever vendor we have in place. I'll be here October 17th, Thursday, 9 o'clock. Meet people to talk about the land use and zoning information. That's all for tonight.
Thank you, Mark. Go back to updates by mayor. Of course, everybody here knows that we just are under a state of emergency. The Public Works had them check the water tower this morning. It is completely full. We also have backup new backup generator at our pumping station there at Teetewick Taylor. And then so we've got the water system is good for the residents here in Pierson for this upcoming storm. We have the water tower is full, and then our backup generators have all been checked and are in working order. I believe as best that you can get prepared. They've have all the chainsaws and equipment ready to go. Also, just for point of information, we've had a lot of people coming to get dirt this year. I had to bring a load of dirt on then another load of dirt, and then had them bring another load today. So, and then I asked Ryan to contact someone at EOC about getting some more bags, so that people would have the bags. And I think that we were able to get the bags, and so that's gone very smoothly. Still don't have any. We contacted successfully. Yvonne did send an email to DOT. There was a caved-in culvert at Palmetto that has been repaired and corrected. I've also had her send communication to DOT asking and requesting the limbs that are hanging down on our state highway to Center Street here. Is there any, have we gotten anything new from them in regards to that?
They base things on emergencies, holes in the roads, cracks in roads are more important than trees, so he said it's on a list.
It's on the list.
It's on a list.
Well, if you have, which I don't, but when you have these companies that we have here in town with these big semis, they're not happy campers because they said they have to dodge the limbs that are hanging down on that. And if you go and look, you can see there. It's not. You can see very clearly that's an issue. So maybe they'll come, and we certainly have reached out and have tried to get them to correct that, and we're waiting. So maybe they'll come and do that fairly soon. I think that's all that I have at this time. Okay. As tradition, I go around the table in case there's something that the board wants to bring forward for our next meeting or to discuss. Our Vice Mayor, Robert F. Greenland.
I just wanted to bring up about the situation with the EPA regarding the lead pipe situation that arose last Thursday. And it looks like that we're pretty much about to wind that up, which is a good thing. I contacted Lewis this morning also in regards to hurricane preparedness. I made sure, I said, we got plenty of diesel fuel in the tanks on the generators. He assured me we did, and he also said that the tank that they have at the barn is full of diesel as well for our equipment or tractors or whatever. And I said, we got plenty of chainsaw gas and everything, yep. So with that, all I have to say is that I hope, I don't want to wish nothing bad on anybody else, but I sure hope this storm keeps tracking south a little. And I hope we all make this through A-OK. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, and I think we're all in agreement on that. Thank you. Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Just a couple things, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I have talked to Charles Gay, Kaylin Ruth, and Billy Schmidt, and they all said if hell breaks loose, we're on their priority, so we're good to go there. And I reached out to Jeff Brower today, and I reached out to EOC. I had people contacting me wanting to know why Taylor High School was not being open for shelter.
I was going to ask that.
When there's, mandated evacuations for mobile homes, low-lying areas, etc. And I was basically told from a girl at the EOC that the school board dictates what shelters are open. So I said, this is not good. It's not just town of Pierson proper, it's all of Northwest Volusia County. So Ryan they reached out to him and said that someone from the town had reached out, that there was some concern. So what they're doing, instead of opening the school, if you meet here by 9 a.m. in the morning, they will bus you to a shelter in Delaney. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Elementary school in 308 is open as well.
No, I guess we just need to holler louder to Volusia County.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we are the north end up here, and it kind of always gets kind of left up here. We're kind of like those hillbilly folks when it comes to that.
Exactly.
We're up here in the
Exactly.
corner, they'll be all right. So, but
Yeah.
the fact that they don't have something, I mean, it's kind of sad that we don't have a shelter up in this corridor
Yes.
somewhere.
They really only, I mean, considering the evacuations that they've posted, they only have 4 shelters open in all of Volusia County, which seemed a little weird to me, but that's all right now as of EOC's last update. There's four schools as shelters, and then the Volusia County Fairgrounds if you have pets and things like that. But
That is interesting, isn't it? Because
Yes.
we did have TUS Taylor was used as a
Yes.
shelter during hurricane. But
But I just don't understand who the hell is the school board to dictate to the taxpayer whether you deserve a shelter or not. I have a problem.
School board pays their selection of where they bring children based on the infrastructure built into the school. Some schools are built with fire generators that will power the entire cafeteria, everything. Some schools are only built with generators that will just power the bare necessities. So what the school board does is it selects the school that have that infrastructure built into them already. Granted, this is a newer school. I don't know what the infrastructure built into that. But I do know down south of Cypress Grove, because I've worked with before, that has a whole generator that powers the entire cafeteria, everything, air conditioning, outlets. So when they lose power, that cafeteria loses power. So in my experience, because I was in SRD for a while, they only open certain schools, like Heritage Middle School in Belmont, because that is completely powered by backup generator. Also, you think that they're all built on the same wind standards now, but they're not. Some schools are built to a higher wind standard, which obviously costs more money, so they don't build all the schools to the same wind standard. But I agree with you, not having a
Yeah.
shelter.
thank you.
I have nothing further.
Thank you, Lenny. Councilman, anything else? Okay, Vaughn or Ryan?
I do have one thing. Chris asked me, should Public Works work tomorrow? I said, I don't know. I will have to inquire.
Co-op's open till noon.
Till noon, yeah.
So,
I think we should be open till noon anyway.
I'm here till noon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, make them last minute.
Well, that, and they can
Yeah, they can-
maybe hit a lick on these.
Right. Do some more of the meters. Exactly, yes, let's
Sure, Brady.
work on
Till noon.
that.
Okay,
Drag that whip, Bradley.
she does.
Okay.
this time for the good and welfare, public participation. Yes, Greg?
I think one of the things that Pierson is lacking on, or not doing currently, I have concern that a lot of our codes are blocked and not draining properly. You go right down First Avenue here, where the therapy office is, and the water's already backed up there. For some reason, it's not draining under Second Avenue or First Avenue like it should. But we have a lot see that culvert. I took Lewis by there and showed him that several weeks ago. And Lewis has been working for the town for, 18 plus years. And he told me he didn't even know there was a culvert there. You can't even see at the end of the culvert. Metal plane sticking out of the ground, marking where the culvert is. If you remember, that road was washing out several years ago. We had a lot of rock put in there to keep the road from washing out. We have culverts around town that are not even functional because they're full of dirt. So when we have all this rain that we have now, we're going to have more of it coming in the next day or two. The road that runs down First Avenue to where the railroad track is just an example. There's no way the water can't run off there because the culvert's not blocked up. And I mean, it's really nice to check these water meters to see if anybody has lead and water line going in there. But we have culverts on our streets that are not functional. Hazen Road is running over Hazen Road in two places right now. Down below Alvin's, because those culverts are all stopped up, and then around the corner from going toward where Winnie lives, between there and I was 17 on the road. And we need to get our priorities right.
Well, that issue on Hagstrom, we can't, we're waiting on survey.
But we have culverts in town that would be functional when they're stopped up. There's at where Blake Street meets Washington Avenue, there's a grate there that's this big square. My question is, where does that water go when it runs into that grate? Because all the ditches are full of dirt. I mean, I don't know where the water can even go. Carol Dunn has complained for years about water backing up in her yard because those culverts are full of dirt. I mean, we need to.
What is the fenced-in area in her yard? What is the fenced-in area in her yard? Is that a retention pond?
That's a retention pond that I think she put in.
Because of the drainage problem from,
I think so.
so it's been there a long time.
It's been there a long
Yeah.
time, that drainage pond. It's been there
Got ya.
a retention pond. But I think we might need to use this hurricane as a meter to find out where these culverts are blocked up. And when the storm does pass and things dry up a little bit, maybe thinking about opening those things up so in the future maybe they'll work better.
I think the situation down here on First Avenue is that retention pond they have there at the physical therapy place. I mean, it's coming into the parking lot. I mean, it's too small.
Over to where the street is, but I think there's a culvert that goes under Second Avenue just before you get the railroad track. And I think it's just totally covered up, and it's been, over the years, it's just become non-functional. Through really no fault of anybody.
I know there's one, the culvert's out here by the elementary, here on Washington Avenue. I saw, one of George Muller's sons out there trying to get that thing going.
He has backup really bad there.
Yeah.
And before they told me it was because the ditch wasn't being taken care of. The ditch is not being taken care of now. So, I mean, you can only say spray the ditch and weed eat so many times.
I can remember though, I don't know if it's been a while back, but somebody, the county, I guess, came to clean out those culverts there on Washington Avenue, flowing, to the railroad track, and then under Washington Avenue going down towards the barn. And
but I just think we need to use this opportunity to see where maybe these culverts are blocked up before really running off. So when it does dry up, maybe we can, get them back into their work.
We're fixing to have a good opportunity to see what's.
And,
What they
the culverts out there on North Road, they're slated to be replaced. Water running through them like the
Blowing.
river.
Yeah.
there's a lot of water in the ground and on the ground.
That's all I would say, is that maybe we need to use this as an opportunity to
Identify the problem areas, yeah.
If we can't do anything about it now,
Right.
Thank you, Gray. Thank you, that's a good point. Yvonne, a few weeks ago, you contacted me about a culvert that was was blocked, and I'd asked you to contact the county to come up because they have the truck that can blow. Did they come?
Actually, upon inspection by two of Public Works gentlemen, it looks like the owner was dumping his yard debris in it.
Oh, really?
And he has been notified to remove that yard debris. So the county was never called because there was fresh grass clippings, branches, weeds.
Well, what Gray is saying is true. The county has in their public works a truck that can blow and open those up. That's something that needs to be done. So thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Lester Foley, 363 North Pine Street. I see the Pierson events on here, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron, for this time.
Well, you're welcome. And just for the record, as he just stated, the Pierson events, it's on our agenda here. Legacy Fall Harvest Festival, Saturday, October the 12th at 10 a.m.
Yeah, they changed that today. I don't know why, but it's now the 23rd.
I think because of the rain.
Because of the rain, I think that's why they changed it.
So that's been changed to the 23rd. Okay. Pierson Saddle Club Buckle Series, #1 Barrel and Poles, Saturday, October the 19th at 11 a.m. Pierson Vendor Market, Saturday, October the 19th at 9 to 2. And the Fall Jamboree at Barberville Pioneer Arts Settlement, November the 2nd and 3rd from 9 to 5 p.m. Also be aware of our dates. Our next regular council meeting, October the 22nd at 6:30, and Tuesday, November the 12th at 6:30. The next Planning Board Commission meeting will be Tuesday, November the 19th at 6 p.m. And before in closing, my prayer is tonight, as we've talked about the hurricane, is that families throughout this great state of Florida, that people are safe, and then as it travels wherever it's going, I pray for safety and well-being of all people, and hope that we can all Friday morning that we'll be doing well and that we all have electricity. So being no further business, thank you all for coming in attendance. This meeting is adjourned.